talking about innovation, we look at innovation from a systems model standpoint. What are all the things that need to go on in the organization to actually bring those ideas to fruition and allow them to get implemented? Here's what happens. We first need to have some people. We need to give them some very deliberate processes, and they need to be working in an environment that fosters creativity. If they work in an environment that kicks the creativity out of them every time they walk in saying, I've got an idea, nothing's going to happen. So all of those things need to work together. When they work together, that interaction leads to the ability to create a product. Now, if you're Coca-Cola, you're developing new Coke, right? If you are a government agency, you're developing policy. If you're a nonprofit organization, maybe you're developing some services or providing things. So whatever that product is, it's not just the thing we go to the shelf and get, but it's a work product of some type. In order to get that implemented, we need some sort of strategy, right? It's just, you got to pull it all together. And these are things that you probably typically engage in your organization anyway. We take it to launch, and here's what happens in innovation. One of two things happen. We either get it adopted, and as a result, it leads to change. Now think about what happened when the iPod was introduced. How many years ago? It wasn't that long ago, but it was long ago. And look at what that did from an adoption standpoint and how it changed the music industry. Because now we download music. We either choose to pay for it or don't. We download it song by song, as opposed to walking to the closest CD store and buying an album at a time. We buy one piece of music at a time, and we share it, and it's not difficult to do that. The way that we do music now, from a personal standpoint, and the way we enjoy it, is completely different. We've all moved. Whether we bought an iPod or not, we're all listening to music in a different way. Would you say? We think about it differently. That was a really interesting adoption. Now let me show you what happens on the flip side. Who remembers New Coke? I'm going to talk about them. I didn't work on New Coke, but I've done some work with Coca-Cola, okay? So I can relate to that a little bit. So what happened with New Coke? Big launch, big failure. So did Coke close up shop and say, oh my God, we're never going to introduce a new product? No. They went back through the system and they said, we read this wrong. Let's relook at this. And then they started looking at the other products that they could do. They learned from it and they figured out a different way. So that's the other thing. If it flops, we have to take that failure as a learning as opposed to a failure and start to do something with it. So when we have all of that working together, what we're seeing throughout the entire process, if we look at innovation as a systems model, is creative thinking happening throughout the entire process. As a result, we can generate ideas and get the creativity out of the organization and the people that we need. That allows us to do the introduction, and that's why we call it innovation. I think innovation is just a fancy word for change.